moves to block Chinese app Xiaohongshu, saying it puts users at risk of scams. We explain how the ban could impact millions of people.
如果你的平台在中华民国境内要运作，要让民众使用，那你就必须要接受中华民国的法律管辖。
China's last-minute repatriation of 10 released Taiwanese prisoners sparks confusion and safety fears in Jinmen. Bipartisan US senators introduce a bill aimed at preventing President Donald Trump from easing chip restrictions on China. Plus, Taiwan is ending dolphin shows next year, but what happens to the animals and their trainers when release isn't an option? A warm welcome to TaiwanPlus News. I'm Laurel Stewart. Taiwan is preparing to block Chinese social media app Red Note, or Xiaohongshu, citing serious security and scam concerns that could put users at risk. Alan Liu explains how the move could affect millions of people and why opposition parties are pushing back.
First government agencies and now the public. Officials in Taiwan have moved from banning civil servants from using Chinese social media platform Xiaohongshu to taking direct action against the platform itself. Citing cybersecurity risks and a surge in online scams, the Interior Ministry ordered internet providers to block connection to Xiaohongshu servers for a year.
如果你的平台在中华民国境内要运作，要让民众使用，那你就必须要接受中华民国的法律管辖。 而且要回应我们对于在平台上面有各式各样违法违规的行为的一个改善。
In just the past year, authorities in Taiwan say the platform has been linked to more than 1,700 fraud cases, resulting in millions of dollars in losses. The ban will gradually affect the 3 million users in Taiwan. And when it does, they won't be able to open the app, cutting off access to all content. Experts say the restrictions will stop Xiaohongshu from collecting user data in Taiwan.
你如果打开的话，它不能截取你所输入的东西，也进一步不能去解析你所使用的内容。那对这个平台业者来讲，它就没有说。
But the main opposition Kuomintang is blasting the move, saying it goes against freedom of speech.
捍卫人权，保障言论自由，数位世界的数位人权与自由，这是我们的普世价值。
But some who use the app say it does at least need oversight.
政府应该先审查好，然后再决定说看要不要开放这个 app 进来台湾。
We all have a lot of different kind of alternatives like Instagram or like TikTok. So I think banning this app, maybe it's not really like a symbol like to deny the freedom of speech. Yeah.
While others say the new rules won't impact their lives.
就觉得停就停掉，反正我也没在用了，就不是在我生活会遇到的范围。
Taiwanese government has made it clear that users won't be penalized for installing Xiaohongshu, but it has strongly urged people to stop using it and recommends removing the app. Officials say any lifting of the ban will depend on whether the platform is willing to comply with Taiwan's laws and implement corrective measures. Liang Lian and Ellen Lu for TaiwanPlus.
For more on the Xiaohongshu ban in Taiwan, our reporter Tiffany Wong spoke with Eric Xu, social engagement researcher at Doublethink Lab.
The government said that it's restricting Xiaohongshu for a year because of the risks of fraud and cyber attacks. How prominent are those risks on this platform versus others?
我觉得尽管说小红书上面有各种不同类型，比如说像投资啊，或是情感诈骗之类的类型。那它长期以来，就像刚才主持人所提到的，这个有治安或是其他这各种过度收集使用者个人资讯的疑虑上面，根据台湾官方的数据来看，大概2年内有超过1700件的这个诈骗，然后损失金额超过1.5亿元这个部分。那相较于其他不同的平台，像 Meta 或是 Line 这个部分，它的量体当然是不太一样的。但我仍想要着重在现在的这些网络诈骗或是治安问题，其实它都是属于一个跨境集团在进行的。那政府其实非常仰赖跟这些境外平台之间的合作，就像 Meta 它旗下的这些 Facebook、Instagram 或是 Threads， 以及像 Line、Google、YouTube 这些 它都是被指定纳管的平台，那它都有成立所谓的这个指定法律代表人，然后来接受政府的指导，或是配合政府相关的法律跟政策。
Why is the government banning Xiaohongshu specifically? Is it because it's a Chinese-made app, or are there other platforms that should be worried about potentially facing restrictions in the future?
小红书今天这个主要的问题仍旧是在于它长期以来对于我刚才所提到的这些平台上面的这些问题，它是针对台湾政府这边的这些要求是几乎是已读不回，那这其实是非常非常罕见的这个样态。那某种程度上其实也代表小红书其实并没有想要积极的对它自己的使用者在上面被诈欺、被诈骗或是其他的有害内容做出相对应的这个责任来协助追查。那你说这个跟它是不是中国的软体有没有关系？我想某种程度上可以有关系，也可以没关系。那可以有关系的地方在于说，因为它是一个来自境外他国的这个平台，它长期不愿意配合台湾法制进行落地监管，甚至没有法人代表，其实就会造成许多实施台湾相关法律，不管是在儿少保护或是诈骗或者其他面向这些部分没有办法被就是实行，造成的这样子挑战。那 TikTok 我所知道的是 TikTok 过去有透过公关公司在台湾至少有成立这个可以跟政府沟通的管道，我想这个部分TikTok 的情况会跟小红书略有不同。
That was Eric Xu, researcher at Doublethink Lab. China has sent 10 Taiwanese people who had finished prison sentences back to Taiwan with little notice. Taipei's not happy with how it was handled. Cadence Caranta reports.
Passengers arrive on Taiwan's outlying Dinmen Islands by ferry. They've come from the Chinese city of Xiamen, just a few kilometers across the water. It's a normal sight. Ferries run between the two sides every day. But on Wednesday, something unusual happened. Apart from the usual tourists and business people that shuttle back and forth between the two sides, there were also 10 Taiwanese who had just finished prison sentences in China for fraud and were being sent back home. That worried some of the other passengers.
刚好要回来的时候，就看到押一些犯人，觉得蛮可怕的。对道员他们记住我们长相的话怎么办？
Taiwan's Mainland Affairs Council, which handles relations with China, was also displeased. It says in these situations, China and Taiwan will normally agree on a time and form of transportation further in advance. This time, it was much shorter notice. The council also said the way it was handled wasn't in line with what the two sides had formally agreed to.
这一次的遣返它确实和我们过去所讲的这个两岸共打的机制是不太一样的。我们虽然不满意但是还是要务实的处理这个问题那所以我们还是让昨天就是让这10个人能够登船返回金门。
The council said because of rising tensions between Taiwan and China, cross-strait agreements have been harder to carry out. But it still hopes that in the future, China can respect those protocols.
我们还是希望能够尊重过去长期以来的机制，这样是最好的。
The council says there are nearly 900 other Taiwanese still caught up in fraud cases in China right now, some of them in prison. They'll eventually need to be sent back too, meaning the challenge of repatriating accused fraudsters is far from over. Ryan Wu and Cadence Quaranta for TaiwanPlus.
The Supreme Court has upheld prison sentences for 3 former military personnel involved in a Chinese spy case, while a 4th has withdrawn his appeal. 3 of the men served as guards at the presidential office. The 4th worked at the military's communications unit. Prosecutors say they passed sensitive information to China between 2022 and 2024, receiving thousands of US dollars in return. All 4 were convicted in March and appealed to the High Court before their cases reached the Supreme Court. Their prison terms, now final, range from 5 to 7 years. President Lai Ching-te says China is threatening Indo-Pacific security and the international order.
中国近来持续军事恫吓、灰色地带压迫、经济胁迫、外交打压等手段，威胁台湾以及周边国家，企图改变台海现状，挑战印太安全以及国际秩序。
Lai made the comments while meeting with a delegation from the National Committee on American Foreign Policy, a US advocacy group. He said Taiwan is a responsible security partner in Asia and that maintaining regional peace and stability are key goals for the country. Lai also mentioned his recently announced special military budget, saying the $40 billion bill shows Taiwan's determination to defend itself. The US has released its latest national security strategy, saying deterring a conflict over Taiwan is a priority. It says preserving the US's military superiority is needed to achieve that. It also says that the US does not support unilateral changes to the cross-strait status quo. Instead, it calls for working with regional allies to ensure that the US can always defend Taiwan. It's the first national security strategy document released since 2022. A former member of the European Parliament is warning that a crisis in the Taiwan Strait would be a global concern.
A Taiwan emergency, the Japanese Prime Minister said, would amount to a Japan emergency. I think more even is true. A Taiwan emergency would amount to an international emergency.
Bütikofer, who now co-chairs the German Taiwanese dialogue platform, made the comments at a conference in Berlin. He said a Taiwan emergency could have the biggest economic fallout since World War II, and said that Taiwan will become a focus of global geopolitics. He also pledged continued exchanges between Germany and Taiwan to deepen mutual understanding. US Congress and the Trump administration are locking horns over whether to keep restrictions on chip exports to China. As Chris Gorin reports, divisions are forming between the president, chip companies, and even some in Trump's own party.
A legislative tug-of-war over selling U.S. chips in China. Earlier this week, the White House reportedly pressured Congress to kill a measure tightening chip export restrictions. But later, a bipartisan group of senators struck back, introducing the Safe Chips Act. Republican co-sponsor Pete Ricketts says the goal of this bill is to lock current restrictions in place.
That's why Senator Coons and I plan to introduce the Safe Chips Act. This legislation would put in statute the Trump administration's current red lines on what AI chips are allowed to be sold to Communist China for 30 months to preserve our edge.
Sponsors say these chips could help China build up its military. And while Republicans say the bill supports Trump's agenda, there's a catch. The bill prohibits any exceptions, stripping the president of the power to override the bans by granting licenses. That could limit Trump's options as he negotiates a larger trade deal with China. NVIDIA CEO Jensen Huang, who reports say urged Trump to kill the first bill, says export controls are self-defeating and will only help China take more of the global market faster.
They're going to go build their own complete stack. Once they build that entire complete stack, they'll export it as quickly as you could imagine. And this is the world what we will find someday if we don't activate.
We'll be buyers, not sellers.
That's right.
But even if Washington says yes to China sales, Beijing might still say no. Regulators there are said to be pushing tech giants to buy AI chips from local firms like Huawei instead of NVIDIA or AMD. While the bill makes its way through Congress, some companies are moving ahead. AMD CEO Lisa Su confirmed Thursday she has obtained export licenses to ship some of its AI chips and is ready to pay Trump's 15% tax on China sales. So the stakes in the global AI race are high, and the debate around the Safe Chips Act shows there are divisions even within President Trump's own party. Now, whether the bill makes it through Congress and the president's desk is another matter. Patrick Chun and Chris Gorin for TaiwanPlus.
Coming up after the break, Hong Kong is going ahead with a citywide election on Sunday, even as grief over last week's deadly fire threatens to dampen turnout.
Thank you for sharing our passion for food and Taiwan. Veggie Island explores the vibrant world of plant-based cuisine.
This is amazing.
While Taiwan on the Rocks uncovers the stories and craftsmanship behind every sip.
Have you ever tried Taiwanese beer?
Are you ready to taste even more of Taiwan?
Welcome back. You're watching TaiwanPlus News. One of the leading candidates in Honduras's presidential election says the latest vote tallies are fraudulent. On Wednesday, Salvador Nasralla was ahead by around 16,000 votes, with 80% of votes counted. By Thursday night, he'd fallen behind rival Nasri Azpura by 24,000 votes. Nasralla says the count is incorrect and is calling for an investigation. Both candidates have voiced support for Taiwan during the election. Nasralla says Honduras should re-establish formal ties with Taiwan after they were broken off in 2023. Azpura has promised to move the country away from China. Though the vote was on Sunday, counting has been delayed throughout the week. Other issues include a hacking attempt on the country's voting system and 17% of all ballots showing inconsistencies. Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi is hosting Russian President Vladimir Putin in New Delhi for a state visit. It comes as New Delhi and Moscow seek to expand bilateral trade, which Russia dominates through its oil exports. Russia's energy exports to India have soared since its 2022 invasion of Ukraine, leading US President Donald Trump to tariff Indian goods an extra 25%. Some reports suggest Russia is offering advanced weapon systems to India. Hong Kong is going ahead with an election on Sunday, despite a massive fire that's left the city in mourning. Some Hong Kongers think now is not the right time for a vote, though the city's chief disagrees. John Van Trieste reports.
Just outside the charred ruins of Hong Kong's Wong Fuk Court apartment complex, signs urging people to vote. The city is holding a legislative election this weekend, just days after tragedy struck. Last week, flames tore through Wong Fuk's tower blocks, killing at least 156 people, making it Hong Kong's deadliest fire in decades. And mourners are still placing fresh tributes near the complex's blackened shells. Still, the territory is pressing on with the vote, even promising to escort survivors of the fire to polling places. For some Hong Kongers, it's too soon.
Honestly, it's infuriating. I think it lacks respect, and there are so many things we want to say, but of course, I think this has been a very tough week for the entire Hong Kong population. Everyone is still mourning.
Some are even calling for Hong Kong's chief executive to resign over the disaster.
肯定是要延后的事情嘛。然后我觉得出了这么多的事情，李家超他还能再坐这个位置吗？他只能下去的了。这么多人，他虽然说他没有直接责任，他有间接责任呐。
But Lee says a vote is just what Hong Kong needs right now.
It's also a way to maintain social stability and strongly support post-disaster reconstruction efforts. Allowing the new Legislative Council members to take office as soon as possible would enable a faster and more effective advancement of important recovery work.
But even if the election happens on schedule, it's unclear how big a mandate the winners will have. 2019 pro-democracy protests triggered major changes to electoral rules. The number of directly elected candidates has shrunk, and only pro-Beijing politicians can run. Many pan-Democrat voters, once more than half of the electorate, have simply stopped going to the polls. And some observers say the fire might turn off even more voters.
And if it's lower, that would reflect the anger, resentment, people thinking, well, you know, I mean, why did this happen? That's the question. It isn't the immediate shell shock of what do we do now. And this is public housing, and the people in this housing have nothing.
Authorities are trying to keep anger in check ahead of the vote, arresting 3 people since the fire, including a student who posted an online petition demanding accountability. And barricades quickly went up to cover up messages students left on a wall at this university following the blaze. So, with the city still grieving, last week's tragedy could now become an unexpected test for the Hong Kong government's legitimacy. Howard Zhang and John Van Trieste for TaiwanPlus.
Dolphin performances in Taiwan will stop next year, but releasing captive dolphins into the wild is nearly impossible. So, what becomes of them and their trainers? TaiwanPlus is back for part 2 of this special report.
In 2026, Taiwan will join a growing list of countries, including Mexico, Costa Rica, and Chile, to ban dolphin shows. But while the performances may end, the dolphins at the Far Glory Ocean Park will remain in captivity.
第一个就是它的生命年龄，被圈养的这个鲸豚，它个体它的生命年龄已经是比较大的了，那它很可能在这部分的野放的可能性就会比较低。那再来另外一个条件就是说，它被圈养的时间长跟短。对，如果它圈养的时间已经很长，可能10年、20年，那这个相较起来的话，它可能已经形成了一种惯性。那这种惯性就是它可能失去了一些能力，包括像是去捕捉鱼的能力。
In most cases, reintegrating captive animals into the wild is very costly and very difficult. While some countries like Iceland have had success using large pens set up at sea, Taiwan's geography and climate make this hard.
它最主要就是台风的风险，因为台湾就在一个就是多台风的地方。那这些动物它如果被固定在一个范围内，但是这个范围内可以做的保护的措施又不够多，但台风来的时候，那个浪的影响很可能反而会让这些动物变得是很动荡、很受伤。那很有可能它就会在里面不小心的因为浪来了，然后撞击到礁岩还是怎么样的状态下受伤。
However, there could still be other options for the future of these dolphins.
That doesn't mean they can't be sent to a sanctuary somewhere else. Okay, they came from somewhere. Most of the animals in Taiwan aren't necessarily from Taiwanese waters, right? Somebody sent them there. It can be done in reverse, if you will. You can send them to a sanctuary that's been established somewhere else that is safe and protected. I'm not saying that's been done yet. We are still working on the concept for whales and dolphins. It's complex.
With no real possibility of release and the show's ending, Tien and his team will see their official titles changed from trainers to caregivers in 2026. The training they used to use to amuse audiences will be turned to day-to-day care for the animals.
For decades, signals like these have been used to ask dolphins to perform tricks, and sometimes they can also be used during health checks. For example, by doing this, I can ask the dolphin to open its mouth.
Tricks like that help caretakers check the dolphin's health. And for Tien, caring for the animals is more than a job.
因为它的一整天就是必须要靠我去帮它维持它的一些健康状态，对，所以有像我自己照顾的海豚，它其实是一开始非常害羞的动物，那跟它照顾了这么久之后，它慢慢的愿意接近我，我觉得这是一种互相信任的一个过程啊，我觉得我们之间更像是一个合作很久的伙伴的感觉。
With the special bond with the dolphins, Tien says his responsibilities won't change, even after the performances end. He will continue to work with and care for the animals, and welcome not only the final curtain fall on dolphin shows, but also Taiwan's evolving approach to animal welfare. For Hua-hong, Howard Zhang, Bryn Thomas, and Sandy Chi for TaiwanPlus.
In Japan, muscle girls are challenging traditional beauty norms by embracing body diversity and strength at an underground bar in Tokyo. IT reports.
Fancy a nightcap in Tokyo? Consider a splash of melon crushed over a strong drink by an even stronger woman. Muscle Girls is a fitness-themed bar that's challenging conventional beauty standards in Japan.
In Japan, people generally think that women with small breasts, a slender back, and skinny legs are attractive. But the customers who come here to Muscle Girls prefer thicker arms and legs. I still remember how my self-esteem skyrocketed when I realized deep down that it was okay to be just how I am now.
A hotspot for revelers seeking something offbeat. It's the bar's staff of women with powerful physiques that manager Harigai Hitomi emphasized with most.
The boys at middle school and high school told me, "Your legs are fat." They said it as an insult. "Your legs are fat. You don't fit in your skirt."
It's a common sentiment in Japan. Studies show the country has a much higher proportion of underweight women among developed nations, nearly 5 times that of the US and Germany, the result of a culture that equates thinness with beauty.
But I think that's something every Japanese girl goes through in her teens. They look at magazines and social media and think, "I'm fatter than her, I'm no good." It's a lot. It's like a kind of mind control, a self-imposed mind control. This idea that skinny is beautiful, it's a curse.
Against this backdrop, Muscle Girls offers a different vision of femininity, one that prizes strength and community.
Just the fact we do weight training already sets us apart from regular Japanese women. It's a community where people who are a little unconventional can gather. I think so, and I think the others think so too. The bar is a place we all cherish.
Harigai and the women at Muscle Girls have created a space where they can be themselves and embrace their bodies, community, and individuality. It's something that's proving to be a strong combination. Patrick Chen in IT for TaiwanPlus.
Thank you for watching TaiwanPlus News. Finally, let's go to Trafalgar Square in London, where they're lighting up their Christmas tree. I'm Laurel Stewart. Take care and see you next time.